Greetings, beloveds, and peace be with you. I'm Reverend Mitzi, and I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for answering the divine call to watch, and welcome to Unity of Tempe online. So this has been a brutal week in the US. So many shootings amid the horrific backdrop of 45 mass shootings in the US in the past month alone. And if you can't remember the shooting before the last one, you wouldn't be alone. They're coming so fast, so furious, and it's very easy to become numb about this. We grieve for the lives lost and for their loved ones. We grieve for our humanity as a nation. On another note, over 50% of all US Americans adults have received at least one dose of the vaccine. But we're not out of the woods as far as COVID goes yet, because in many states cases are rising again and hospitalizations and deaths are rising. And also we had the funeral of Prince Philip, and as many of you know, I am still a Brit, and the heart-wrenching image of Her Majesty sitting alone. And to me, this image is so poignant. God save the Queen, who embodies living a life of duty above self. And I feel this image speaks not only to the Queen's grief, but also to much of our own exhaustion with the violence in the US this week and the continuing violence. And often in New Thought, we want to avoid how we're feeling. We want to go immediately to the positive. We want to feel good. We just want to put it all to one side, numb out, and just focus on the positive. But it's so important, as I've said many times before, to allow our feelings to come up and our deep emotions to come up before. Those are one of the ways that we tap into our humanity. There's a beautiful song by Karen Drucker that seems so appropriate for right now. And you might want to grab a tissue or 7 before you watch this.
I'll light a candle in your memory, though I don't know who you are. And when I think about your family, I will wish upon a star. And I pray that they'll find peace someday. I pray they'll make it through. I'll light a candle in your memory to honor you. I'll light a candle for America. May we feel peace inside. We'll hold each other closer and wipe the tears we've cried. And I pray we'll bond together, and I pray that we'll pull through. I'll light a candle for America, for me and for you. for the good that's yet to come, as we overlook our differences and join now as one. And I pray we'll come out stronger in this world I'm dreaming of, a light, a candle for humanity, to be a world living in love. And we will light the world with our love. Know that we can. We will light the world with our love. Every day, in every way, we will light. We will light the world with our love. I know that we can, I know that we will light. We will light the world with our love. I'll light a candle for humanity, for all the good that's yet to come, as we overlook our differences and join now as one. And I pray we'll come out stronger in this world I'm dreaming of. I'll light a candle for humanity, to be a world that's living in love. I'll light a candle. I'll light a candle. I'll light a candle.
Incredibly moving and timely song. Thank you, Karen Drucker. And yes, we do light candles for humanity to be a world living in love. So, beloveds, let's take a deep breath together now. And another one. And we ground ourselves in this moment. So today continues the season of the 50 days known as Eastertide. And if you're wondering, what is Eastertide? That's probably because you didn't get the chance to watch last week's message, but I have good news because it is still up on the website and you can catch it. But we return today to the exploration of the 12 powers. We were going to look at one of these 12 powers throughout every month in 2021. We looked at faith in January and strength in February, and both messages are still on the website if you'd like to watch or have a recap. But a quick recap on the term, the 12 powers. Well, that comes from the book, The 12 Powers by Charles Fillmore, who is of course co-founder of Unity with his wife Myrtle. And in this book, he states that each of us have 12 powers that are part of our spiritual DNA, part of the I am presence that was present in Jesus. These 12 powers were present in Jesus. They're also present in us, and they're active to the extent that we allow them to be awakened. Today we look at the power of wisdom. We didn't look at it in March, and we didn't do a power in March because I had created this series called A Lent with Intent in preparation for Palm Sunday and Easter. So this power of wisdom, well, originally Charles Fillmore referred to it as the power of judgment. Ooh, yes, judgment. Connotations of judging other people, and maybe even bringing up the very scary phrase, righteous judgment, with overtones of superiority and condemnation. Not something we want to be aligned with, is it? But that's really not what Charles Fillmore meant. He was talking about using divine wisdom to make good choices. And so ultimately, this 12 power, this power of judgment became known as wisdom. It got changed from judgment to wisdom. And that in of itself was probably a wise choice. But we make judgment calls all the time, don't we? And sometimes we voice them, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just keep them to ourselves and we judge quietly in our heads. That person's not to be trusted. Oh, that person's so generous. That was a good movie. That was a terrible book. We're constantly evaluating up, down, good, bad, positive, negative, making hundreds of judgments every single day, and many of them from unconscious biases which influence our decisions. Our judgments, well, they have an immediate impact on our consciousness. And Jesus warns us in Luke chapter 6, verse 37, to beware of judgment. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn others, or it will all come back against you. Forgive others, and you will be forgiven. In other words, what we put out comes back to us. What goes around comes around. And what we put out is a reflection of ourselves. And what we want to put out is that we are a reflection of God, a reflection of good, a reflection of Christ, right? Not a reflection of judging and judgment and condemning everyone. And Jesus also tells us that we should never judge by appearances. We should never judge by appearances. Isn't this a great image? I'm going to talk for a minute so that you can just look at this image. I just love it so much. But we cannot make good choices without wisdom. And the best wisdom comes from Spirit. As we align with God's wisdom and allow it to guide us, we can choose to make smarter, more thoughtful decisions for our best and for the best of others and for the best of humanity. Now, the Greek word for wisdom is Sophia, and the Hebrew word is okmah. In the Old Testament book of Proverbs, I love this book of Proverbs so very much, especially in chapters 1 through 9, wisdom is celebrated, praised, exalted, and lavishly personified in female form. I love that. Wisdom is personified in female form. So take a look at this short video.
We're going to start by meeting the book of Proverbs, the brilliant young teacher. And she's not just smart, she's smart about everything: work, relationships, sex, spirituality. She has incredible insights, things you wouldn't see on your own.
Yeah, she would be the perfect friend to have around when you need really specific advice.
So what makes her so smart?
Well, Proverbs can see things that most people don't see. She believes that there's an invisible creative force in the universe that can guide people in how they should live. And you can't see it, just like you can't see gravity, but it affects everything that we do.
So what's this force?
Well, in Hebrew, it's called chokhmah, and it usually gets translated into English as wisdom. It's an attribute of God that God used to create the world. And chokhmah has been woven into the fabric of things and how they work. So wherever people are making good or just or wise decisions, they're tapping into chokhmah.
And whenever someone's making a bad decision, they're working against chokhmah.
Right, or as it says in Proverbs chapter 1, the waywardness of fools will destroy them, but the one who listens to wisdom lives in security.
So it's like a moral law of the universe.
Yeah, it's a cause-effect pattern, and no one can escape it. And Proverbs personifies all of this as a woman.
Yeah, Lady Wisdom.
Right, and she roams around the earth, calling out, making herself available to anyone who's willing to listen to her and to learn. Which leads to the second thing Proverbs believes, that anyone can access and interact with wisdom and use it to make a beautiful life for yourself or for others.
You can create with it like a designer.
Yes, in fact, chokhmah in Hebrew isn't simply intellectual knowledge. The word is also used to describe a skilled artisan who excels at their craft, like woodworking or stonemasonry. So you show you possess chokhmah when you put it to work and develop the skill of making a good life.
Great little video, isn't it? So as I've said, I love the book of Proverbs because it's full of so much wisdom, so much groundedness and practicality in many ways. And one of these days, I am going to teach a series on it. But meanwhile, here's some more about Lady Wisdom from Proverbs chapter 3, verses 15 through 18. She, Lady Wisdom, is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand, in her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are pleasant and all her paths are peace. All her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her. Those who hold her fast will be blessed. Those who hold wisdom fast will be blessed. So from this, what can we discern? Well, we can discern that all of wisdom's ways are paths of what? Paths of peace. And it is through following and staying close to divine wisdom, divine Lady Wisdom, that we are blessed. Life is a series of learning experiences, isn't it? And some of these learning experiences, they are not pleasant. In fact, some of them are downright unpleasant. Yet sometimes it's those past experiences that allow us to open our consciousness to a level that we've never reached before. Now, in New Thought, in Unity, we sometimes refer to God as divine mind and all intelligence. Divine mind. God is the divine mind. God is all intelligence, infinite intelligence. We might wonder then, if God is all intelligence, all wisdom, and God is in us, then why does it take us time to learn new things? Why don't they just come in fully orbed? I'd like to learn some Latin. Not really, but I'm just giving that as an example. I'd like to learn some Latin. It's all there, right there. You can speak every single phrase in Latin and you are now a Jeopardy winner in that category. But no, that's not what happens, is it? And why is that? Why don't we just get the everything that we want to learn right away? Well, that's a valid question, beloveds. And I believe it's because in our human form, most of us can only take in so much information at a time. Can take it in, and then we have to allow time for that information to assimilate deeper within our souls. Now, many years ago now, I took an intensive 6-week, 8 hours a day, every day of the week, Southwest Shakespeare Conservatory course. It was extremely intense, acting and learning about Shakespeare and performing and doing all sorts of activities and exercise and homework and then a final presentation. And then at the end of the course, the director called the whole company together and she said to everyone, "Now, you need time to allow all that you've learned in these past 6 weeks to be assimilated. And by the time you return for the advanced course next summer, you should just about be there." We kind of laughed thinking, oh my goodness, we have to let a whole year go by before we learn anything, before we let it all sink in within us. But you know what? I took the advanced course the following year, and I found that to be true. And that insight that I learned there, well, it's helped me be gentle with myself when I'm learning new things, and to not berate myself when I don't get it immediately, because learning is a process, and assimilating that learning is a process. And this is also true, and it's also helpful to know when we are incorporating spiritual practices into our life. Though we can help the process along by accepting an influx of wisdom, we still have to assimilate it, allow time for it to be assimilated. And the more we spend time in prayer, in meditation, and yes, I believe even in watching these messages, the more we open the valves to the flow of God's wisdom. But too much, all at one time, and our cups runneth over. That is too much. I just have to rest now. We simply can't take it all in. We get to overload, and we're like, that's enough. And that's why we keep listening every week to new messages and learning and putting it into practice, because we need to pause, listen, and ruminate on the wisdom that we are receiving. So, is it wrong then to ask others to share their wisdom with us, particularly when we're struggling over a particular question or circumstance or something that's going on in our lives? Hey, what do you think about this? Has this ever happened to you? What should I do next? Is there something I should learn here? Is there something that I'm not seeing about myself? No, we shouldn't rule out asking others for their input, their support, their suggestions, their ideas, because often they may have the very life experience in a situation that will prove invaluable to us. But we also need to know that it's very important not to rely solely upon the wisdom of others. Because if we do that, we may be missing out on something that is far greater and more powerful, and something just for us that we're to get, and that is divine wisdom. Now, of course, the best way to access this divine wisdom is by practicing prayer and meditation. And the more calm and centered we become, the more we open up to divine intuition. And this intuition will guide us to wonderful opportunities in all areas of our life, to health, to prosperity in all areas, not just financial, but living a prosperous, abundant life, to connecting with someone who's going to make a big change in our life, who's going to move our life forward, or just connecting with someone that we need to connect with, to getting a better job and career, to having more loving and harmonious and wonderful family relationships and loving relationships and friendships. Intuition will guide us. It will inform us. Yes, it will. But we have to do something. And what is that? We have to be willing to listen. You see what I did there, don't you? And then take action. Listen and then take action. Listen. Wisdom is calling. Listen carefully, very carefully, for divine wisdom. For as Jiddu Krishnamurti says, intuition is the whisper of the soul. Intuition is the whisper of the soul. Have to listen very carefully to hear that divine wisdom. Lady Wisdom is calling you. You can pick up now. And the power of wisdom can guide us to make wise choices. But then what about those times in our lives where we've made choices and decisions that we regret? We think about them and we go, oh, I can't believe I did that. And you've probably got some in your own life, right? Well, it's so important for us to be gentle with ourselves and to not wallow in regret or self-condemnation or punishment for any choices we've made in the past. Otherwise, we get stuck. And when we get stuck, what do? We stop evolving spiritually. Just like when Lot's wife looked back, and she looked back very sorrowfully at her past, and what happened to her? Well, she got turned into a pillar of salt. She became immobilized, and that's what can happen to us, not becoming pillars of salt, but becoming immobilized with regret and remorse and shame when we just focus on what we've done in the past that wasn't who we are today. So it's important for us to release these so-called mistakes and view them as valuable learning experiences. What can I take from that situation, or how I behaved in that way, and how would I do it differently? How can I be a better, more loving person today? I love the saying, when your past calls, don't answer. It has nothing new to say. Except, this is different from Lady Wisdom calling. When Lady Wisdom calls, you're allowed to pick up. Divine Wisdom's calling, you're listening, you're picking up. But when you're past and you're just going in there to just ruminate and get all in a shame and a fit about whatever you did that you're not happy with, don't pick it up. Put it down. I'm staying in today and I'm listening and being guided by Lady Wisdom. It's so important, beloveds, for us to all be gentle with ourselves. And here's something very important to remember. Be gentle with yourself, because God's love is gentle. Be gentle with yourself, because God's love is gentle. So now, tapping into divine wisdom and intuition can guide us which way to go, but sometimes we don't get concrete answers right away. I'd love the angel to just drop down, or any angel, just drop down and say, as angels always do, fear not, because they always come telling you not to be afraid, right? But to just say, I'm the angel of Lady Wisdom here in concrete form to give you your answer to your decision. That usually doesn't happen for us, though, does it? And that's why we need to keep honing our powers by inviting wisdom to be our guide, and by doing what? Listening carefully. And by repeating to ourselves, here's a great affirmation. Let's say it a few times together. Divine wisdom guides me in making the right and perfect choices and decisions. Divine wisdom guides me in making the right and perfect choices and decisions. Divine wisdom guides me in making the right and perfect choices and decisions. That's a great one to snap a picture of, because when you're feeling uncertain, you don't know, indecisive, you don't know what way to go, keep affirming that, and the answer will be revealed to you which way to go as you listen within. And as we practice opening up to Spirit through prayer and meditation, and I want to give a plug of also praying for others, our Thursday Zoom call, 10 a.m. This is a great way to invite others to also pray with you, too, for whatever you're going through, and to be in alignment with divine wisdom. As we continue to practice this through prayer and meditation, new ideas begin to form in our minds, and people and situations, well, they show up in unexpected ways. Things we couldn't have foreseen will happen, and they'll show us how to proceed. And that's why it's so very, very important to release our questions and desires into the hands of Spirit. Because we know that Spirit, the divine, is the power of all wisdom. That power is in us and we are aligned with it. So we keep believing and affirming that God within us guides us perfectly in divine wisdom. So we take time each day to allow the wisdom of God to fill us up to the brim, to let the ideas assimilate so that we can understand what is being revealed to us, so that we can be prepared to bless others and be blessed in all areas of our lives. Let us anchor this in prayer, beloveds, now. Loving Mother, Father, God, we accept within us that there is an abundance of divine wisdom, that divine intelligence, that infinite God mind is living and abiding in us. And in any moment where we are unsure, we tap into that wisdom, to divine Lady Wisdom. We listen. We stay in our prayer and our meditation, listening and knowing that the answer for us is revealed in the divine and perfect time. We lift up the U.S., affirming, accepting, claiming that divine wisdom be revealed in this country for humanity, for love, that we recognize all of us, all Americans, all people who live in this country, that we are all connected and that what we do to one another comes right back to ourselves. We accept a new way forward of peace. We don't know right now how this is going to be revealed, and for many of us, we feel discouraged. We feel even defeated right now. Yet we know that there is something that is afoot. We hold to the possibility of new ways, a new way of humanity evolving in a way of peace. We don't just sit by in a Pollyanna claiming this and not doing anything. We are called within to do what is ours to do, whether that is calling our Congress people, whether it is dedicating so much time per day in prayer to just affirming peace, whether it is writing letters, whether it is joining organizations. We ask and we accept and we claim that we are guided in divine wisdom to know what is ours to do, to be living in love so that peace may be revealed in this country. We lift up all who are suffering, who are grieving, and we include ourselves in this prayer as well. We are grateful for each other. We're grateful for the divine light of the Christ presence in us. And we accept that this Christ presence lights our way forward. Thank you, God, that this prayer is answered. We release, we let go, and know it is so, and so it is. Amen. And so, beloveds, this is the time for our financial blessings, because we know that as we give, we receive. We're so grateful that you join with us. There is no amount too large, no amount too small. Your financial blessings are needed and they are graciously accepted. And so I invite you to join with me in saying our blessing affirmation. I am a joyful sharer of my good. I remember that as I give, I receive, and that God is my source. As I give, I receive. And who is our source? God is our source. And you can make your financial blessings securely at unityoftempe.org or at our mail-only address, Unity of Tempe, 925 West Baseline Road, Suite 105/227 Tempe, 85283. Thank you, beloveds, for your blessings. And so now we join in our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. All is well, and we are grateful. Yes, beloveds, I am so very grateful for you. I affirm that you have a week stepping in even further to accessing the divine wisdom that resides within you. I invite you to join us on Thursday at 10 a.m. for our prayer, Zoom, and connection call. This is a fabulous time of just community and deep sharing with one another. Also, Facebook Live at 10 a.m. on Sunday, and then next Sunday, be back here with another message. May your hearts be filled with the light of love, and may you reflect that love, the love that you are, beloveds. Bye-bye.